Lodge professionals ಇಂದ ಯಾರೋ ಲಾಗಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ.
ನಾನೇ ಅದು.
There is somebody joining from Lodge professionals.
Hey Baba, we are live. Hold on.
Lodge professionals uniform ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀನಿ.
I'll keep my mobile.
Oh, how do I?
ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರ್ತದ? I am going to go out. I am not going to share my screen.
Yeah, that's okay, man.
Shit, how do I pause the stream? Okay, what I want to do is
Jayant, take this to PPT.
yeah.
He is asking, are you guys going live right now?
Yeah. Yeah, present it.
F5.
Great. Oh, fine. Looks nice. Just see if this is.
Streaming now or what?
Yeah, it's streaming. I'm seeing in YouTube.
I'm not able to see it.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that same.
This is better than the previous one. No.
Hey, this is better, no? This is better, no, than what you made.
Yeah, this is far better. Like, yeah, this looks nice, man.
Okay.
It's coming also on YouTube as well.
But all this is heard on YouTube.
Both.
Pardon?
Much better, much better. Yeah.
Heard on YouTube also.
Paternal greeting, Karthikeyan. Yeah. Everything is heard.
Switch off a lot of YouTube.
ಇರ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ಲಿ.
ಇನ್ನೊಂದ್ಸರಿ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಯಾರೋ ಇದಾರ ಆಗ್ಲೇ.
ಹಾ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ.
Nagarjun, this has already gone live.
It's on live, is it?
It has gone live on YouTube as well.
Oh. Another 15 minutes is left.
Yeah,
Start.
but still it is live.
Should I start the video? No.
Should we stop or continue?
No, you continue, but you can switch off the video if you don't intend to.
Yeah. Video is off. Yeah.
And
No, can you call Arun sir or after some time?
just mute yourself also. We'll start in 15 minutes.
It'll come at 5, but this is already live.
Okay, I'll mute the audio. It's gone live actually. The moment we click this button, we will be appearing. So your main audience is this camera. Okay.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. All set.
Yeah, all set. We will go live exactly at 5 p.m.
Fine, fine. I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay.
Where is it?
Until then, I'll just switch off my video.
Hmm. Everybody will be visible here, is it? No. We are not going to. They are not going to be visible.
Most worshipful, do I start?
Yes, I'm ready.
Good evening, everyone. I have a warm welcome to all the participants and the brethren who have taken the time out and are joining to this meeting. In response to our registrations, we have received more than 230 registrations from across India, from Freemasons as well as by non-Freemasons. We have also consolidated all the queries which we have received, and we would be answering each of them at the end of the session. If you have further any queries, we would be happy to answer them, but please put it in the chat box. If time permits, we would probably take it as well. In the recent times, when this information and misinformation in social media has been the topic of discussion, Freemasonry has been under misinformation from quite some time. So in this humble attempt to clarify a lot of these misinformations, we thought we will have the authority himself, Most Worshipful Brother Arun Chintopanth, recipient of Order of Service to Masonry, past Grand Master of Grand Lodge of India, who would probably be the authority to speak on this topic. With this, he needs no introduction in the Freemason fraternity, but for the benefit of the general public and people who are non-Freemasons, I thought I'll introduce him. Most Worshipful Brother Arun Chintopanth was born in the city of Madras, now the Chennai. He graduated in physics and mathematics from St. Joseph College, Bangalore in the year 1969. Undertook training for 1 year on computer software for IBM 1401, now obsolete. Qualified as a chartered accountant in the year 1975 and has been in practice since then. He has been an active secretary in Toastmasters Club YMCA during his college days, has organized and participated in various model parliaments, Freemason since 1972, and has been awarded the highest Masonic award in the country, namely the Order of Service to Masonry, has been the head of Masonic movement for the entire country for the 3 years as the Grand Master of India for the year 2003 to 2006. Also was the regional Grand Master of Southern India for 3 years from 1998 to 2001. He is chairman of Lodge Bangalore Freemasons Hall Trust, has been secretary of Bangalore Freemason Society for a number of years, Zilla Aadhar member, helpline for older persons, member of FKCCI since 4 decades, associated with number of religious and charitable trusts, and he's also a Veena student, and he is keen interested in reading and writing. With this brief introduction, I would probably welcome Most Worshipful Brother Arun Chintopanth to take over the session. But just to clarify, we are running this session in 2 platforms. One is on Zoom and the other one is on YouTube Live. The Freemasons are viewing it in YouTube. You can always chat your questions there. We will take it up at the end. With this introduction, I will welcome Most Worshipful to continue the session. Yeah.
Namaste and a good evening to all of you. Welcome to this expedition of discovering a great concept called Freemasonry. I must at the outset thank the Worshipful Master of Lodge Professionals and his team of officers for giving me the honor of leading this expedition, this voyage to discover the great concept called Freemasonry. At this stage, I understand that there are both Freemasons and non-Freemasons as participants in this voyage. So I would like to say that certain things which I may say may sound familiar or may sound a repetition also for the Freemasons. I crave their indulgence for this. My friends, in the 10th century, a man of learning by name Narayan Pandita, in his work called Hitabadesha, gave expression to a very profound thought when he said, and I quote, Ayam Nijaha Paro Veti Ganana Lagu Chetasam Udara Charitranam tu Vasudeva Kutumbakam. The meaning of this Subhashita is that there are two classes of people. One with a petty mind, who think of this as mine and that as his, who differentiate between each other on various counts. But there are this other class of people with exalted minds who believe that the whole world is one family, Vasudeva Kutumbakam. Of those who believed in this concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, in this doctrine of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, who practiced this doctrine of Vasudeva Kutumbakam and propagated this doctrine of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, is this concept called Freemasonry. Freemasonry has not only adopted this doctrine of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, but has also propagated and practiced the same. So much so that over the years, Freemasonry has become to be called the world's oldest secular fraternal societies. Now, for this Vasudeva Kutumbakam, the concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, or the doctrine of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, to become a reality, the world must change. The world has to change if Vasudeva Kutumbakam, or the universalism of the world as it is, can become a reality, can become actual. So the first job is to transform the world, change the world. Now, what is a world? A world consists of society, a society of individuals. It was Aristotle who first advocated the theory that man is a social animal. According to Aristotle, the person who is incapable of sharing a common life is either below or above humanity. He is either a beast or a god. If we go by Aristotle's definition of society, then every individual, every human being, the moment he is born, irrespective of his class, his creed, his nationality, his shape, his size, is a social animal. So all these individuals become a part of a society. A society is defined as a relationship between individuals determined by mutual awareness. Thus, when we say the world, we mean the society that consists in this world. Now, this society again has to be transformed if the world has to change. So if the world has to change, society has to change. It also naturally follows that since society is only a group of, is constituted of individuals, the individuals have to change. So tracing this, first the individual has to be transformed. The individual will transform his family, his community, and thus the society. And when the society is transformed, the world gets changed. The world becomes transformed, and then it is a fertile ground for Vasudeva Kutumbakam to flourish. So the first step is for the individual to be transformed. Does the individual, transformed individual, change society? I'll give you a very nice story on this. A man died and went to heaven. But what he saw there shocked him. It was a desolate place, like a big desert. Everything was dry. There was no foliage, no greenery, no water. It was absolutely dusty. There was no doubt a board which says, "Welcome to heaven, paradise." but the board itself was about 1 million years old. It was full of dust. It was faded. And he saw people walking around and saw they were all emaciated, like skeletons, nothing in their face, no expressions. They were walking as if there was nothing in them. So he asked some of them, is this really heaven? They said, yes, this is heaven. He said, have you heard of great people like Heraclitus, Socrates, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Gautama Buddha, Pythagoras? They said, never heard of them. He was totally disillusioned, disgusted. He thought to himself, let me go and see how hell is. So he asked them, is there a way for me to go to hell? They said, there's a train going now. If you catch that train immediately, you will be able to go to hell. So he moved fast, went to the train, caught the train. And as he was traveling to hell, he was apprehensive. He thought to himself, if heaven is so bad, what could be the position in hell? How could hell be? But to his surprise, as the train approached hell, there was a cool breeze in the air. There was some music he could hear. Things suddenly started turning green, green pastures. There were flowers, there were lakes. He was quite shocked. And as he got down in hell, he saw it was such a beautiful place. It was like a paradise. There were lakes, there were flowers, there were foliage, there was music in the air. The atmosphere was so cool, pleasant, beautiful. And the people there who were walking around, they seemed to be so happy. They seemed to be healthy. So he saw some people going there. He caught hold of them and said, is this hell? They said, yes, this is hell. He said, have you heard of great people like Socrates, Pythagoras, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Gautam Buddha, Lao Tzu? They said, those are the people who have changed this place. Earlier, this place was rotten. It was desolate. It was stinking. But after these people have come, they have transformed the place. It has become a paradise. Just to tell you how individuals can really transform a place, transform society. With such individuals transform, a desert can become a valley of flowers. And such a place becomes a place, a fertile place for germinating this concept, this doctrine, this principle of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the universalism of the world. Now, how does Freemasonry go about it? I said Freemasonry believes, practices, propagates the concept of universalism of the world, of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. How does Freemasonry do this? First of all, Freemasonry tells us that we are all here not by accident, but by design. We are here not by accident, but by design. If we are here by design, whose design is it? Freemasonry says there is one common creator, a supreme being, a God, by whatever name you may call him, by whatever expression you may call him, but there is undoubtedly one great creator who has created all of us, who has, by whose design we are here in this world. Now, again, Freemason tells you, you call him by whatever name, whatever expression, but there is one common creator from whom we have all emerged. A question arises normally, is there a God at all? Is it mere imagination? Is it just some creation by man? There was a nice incident, actual happening at a meeting some time back, when a speaker rose and said, all this talk about God existing is hogwash. There is no God at all. It is mere superstition. I will challenge God. If he exists, I will stand here for 3 minutes. Let him strike me dead. Let him slay me. Let him kill me. I am offering myself as a part of this experiment. Let him slay me. I'll give him 3 minutes. If he slays me, he can prove his existence. Otherwise, he does not exist. So he took out his watch and kept it on the table and waited for 3 minutes. There was stunned silence. Nothing happened after 3 minutes. So he said, see, there is no God. I gave a challenge, open challenge in front of all of you. If God really existed, he should have accepted my challenge. After all, I am the person who is going to get slain. I am the person who is going to be struck dead. So he raised a sort of a confusion in the minds of the people there. His argument at that point of time, under those circumstances, was a little convincing. Then there was a simple man there in the audience, a lover of God, a lover of humanity, who got up and said, friends, don't listen to this man. God does exist. And God does exist as love. Will any father amongst you kill your son, strike your son dead, just to prove your existence? None of us will do it. If my son says, kill me and prove your existence, you will laugh at his foolishness. So too this heavenly Father. Why will he kill his son to just prove his existence? A very convincing answer about the existence of God comes from an unusual source. Kernan, I forget his first name, was an astronaut. I think it's Albert Kernan, who was first astronaut who went on Apollo 10 and Apollo 17 to the moon, writes that when he was in the moon, watching the universe was like sitting in God's front porch and watching the scenery around. He says, when you see that scenery, you do not have a choice but to acknowledge the existence of a creator who has created all this. He says, watching the earth, round ball, neither suspended nor supported, rotating in darkness, without any support and without tumbling down, is incomprehensible. He says, unless there is somebody who is holding or who is doing this like a puppet in a string, it cannot happen. So there is a God. So Freemasonry tells us unequivocally, yes, there is a common creator. He is a supreme being. He is a father of all of us, and he is the father of all. He is the fatherhood of God is the expression that Freemasonry uses. Fatherhood of God. Now, a question may arise: if Freemasonry believes in the fatherhood of God, is it a religion? No, Freemasonry is not a religion. There are so many ways in which we can differentiate religion from Freemasonry. Religion is perhaps what is created by man to give him a source of protection, to give him something as a source of protection, as somebody who will save him from his sins, as somebody who will save him from the fear of the unknown. But Freemasonry has a different attitude, a different approach to God. It is full of love and faith. Freemasonry seeks God as a matter of faith, as a matter of love, not out of fear or for protection. There was a Sufi saint called Junaid. Now, Junaid had a habit of looking up every now and then and saying, "You are so great. Your compassion is so great. You're so compassionate. You're looking after us so beautifully, even though we are not deserving of it." Now, this he would do every now and then throughout the day. Once, Junaid and his disciples went on a pilgrimage. During this pilgrimage, they had to travel through hostile villages. And during this, when they were passing through these villages, the villagers who were hostile to them would not give them food, would not give them water, would not give them shelter. And these people had to suffer. Junaid and his disciples suffered. For 3 days, they walked like this, without food, without shelter, without water, without a place to sleep. And yet, Junaid went on repeating what he was saying. Every now and then, he would continue to say, "You are so great. Your compassion is so great. You look after us so beautifully, even though we are not deserving of it." After 3 days, the disciples who were exhausted, who were tired, who were hungry, came to Junaid and said, enough is enough. We have suffered for 3 days without food, without water, without shelter, and still you go on saying, you're so great, you're so compassionate, you're looking after us. What are you thankful for? What has he done to be thankful for? Junaid laughed and said, I am not grateful to God because he is giving me this or that. I am grateful to God, I love God because I am. I exist because of him, and that is why I love him. Not because he gives me this or that. That is not important. And he said, I am also very happy that during this time of trouble, I have not lost faith in him. That is the kind of faith, that is the kind of love that Freemasonry advocates in its concept of the fatherhood of God. Now, if there is a fatherhood of God, there is a corollary. If we are all born from the same creator, we are all creatures of the same creator, we are all sons of the same creator, then automatically it means that we are all brothers to each other. Are we not? We are all brothers to each other. So this corollary, the supplemented definition came, brotherhood of man. When there is a fatherhood of God, there is a brotherhood of man. Now, the brotherhood of man is not just to say, not just something to repeat, but to experience the spirit, the common spirit within each one of them, as the same spirit each one of us has. The Ishavasya Upanishad says, Ishavasya idam sarvam, yat kinchida jagatyam jagat. That is to say, the whole universe is pervaded by one consciousness. And it is that same consciousness which exists in each one of us. There is one overall consciousness, and it is the same consciousness that exists in each one of us. There is no difference. We may appear to be different. We may have different thoughts, different deeds, different sizes, different shapes, but the consciousness within each of us is the same. Like jewelry, you have gold jewelry, different sizes, different shapes, different designs, but the gold is the same. Like pots, earthen pots, pots can be of different sizes, shapes, colors, but the earth is the same. Similarly, the consciousness is the same. And this is to believe that the brotherhood of man means to believe that the consciousness in each one of us is the same, the spirit in each one of us is the same. So now we have formed a family where there is a God as father and all men as brothers, as his sons. But a thought came to Freemasonry. Fine, if we form a world family with this men, the brotherhood, what happens if these brothers, these sons, these people are diabolical, are ignoble, are immoral, are criminals? Would you want a family like that? Or would you want a family of noble men, of noble people? So Freemasonry decided we must have a family, a brotherhood of only noble people, of good people, men of morals, men of virtues, men of values. So Freemasonry decided we will train the men. We will train our brothers to become virtuous, morally strong, men of values, and noble men. So it decided we will impart morals, values, and ethics and virtues to these men so that ultimately we have a family, universal family of noble men. Accordingly, they went about this training. And sooner than later, there evolved a classical definition of Freemasonry, which said Freemasonry is a system of morality. Now, it is not as if one becomes a Freemason and automatically becomes a noble man, becomes a man of impeccable character, turns into a man of high morals and values. No. Freemasonry provides the infrastructure, the means for a person to become a man of morals, of character, of values. Freemasonry believes, like Swami Vivekananda said, that every soul is potentially divine. Freemasonry believes that every man is essentially good. Every man is essentially good. There is goodness, some essence of goodness in every man. It is for us to assist him to develop that goodness, to make that goodness rise, to become so that he can become a man of character. So the infrastructure, the means for this to become for a good man, to become a better man, to become a noble man is provided by Freemason. I will explain this in the form of a story. It is about a lady who went to a market one day. And in the market, she saw a new shop open. And as all new shops are open, there was a lot of music, balloons, festivities, lights, music, band. It was a very colorful affair. So out of curiosity, she went into the shop. And to her surprise, she saw God behind the counters. So she went to God and asked, what kind of things do you sell here? God said, everything that your heart desires. The lady was excited. She said, I want all good things: love, wisdom, truth, happiness, freedom from fear, all good things that a person could have. And after a thought, she said, not just for me, for everyone in the world. God smiled and said, you have got me wrong, my dear. We do not sell fruits here. We sell only seeds. Freemasonry is like the shop. It provides the means, the infrastructure for us, for those who are in pursuit of this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, to pick up these seeds, to germinate within ourselves and become better people, better men. Now, what is this infrastructure? What are the means that Freemasonry provides for one to imbibe so that you become a better person, a man of morals, a virtuous man? Freemasonry provides 3 platforms or 3 planks by which are the means, which is the infrastructure for one to gain this morality or values or virtue, whatever they say. The 3 planks or platforms are: one is its basic slogan, brotherly love, relief, truth. The second are the 3 pillars which support Freemasonry. They are wisdom, strength, and beauty. And the 3rd platform or the plank are the 4 cardinal virtues which Freemasonry advocates. That is temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. Let me briefly run through these platforms that I have mentioned. First is this basic slogan of brotherly love, relief, and truth. Now, I mentioned about brotherhood of man, but just by calling each other brothers, you don't automatically get brotherhood. You cannot become brothers. My guru used to say that these days brothers meet more in court halls than at their homes. That is not, just to call one a brother is not enough. There must be a bond. There must be a bonding between 2 people to be real brothers. Now, for this bonding, you need an adhesive. What is the adhesive that Freemasonry gives us? What is this glue which Freemasonry gives us to bond together? Freemasonry gives us love. Love as the adhesive to bond. That is why it says brotherly love. Now, brotherly love, love is a very powerful adhesive, very strong adhesive. There was a man called Keshav Chandra. He was a man of logic. He never believed in God and sentiments and all that. He was a man of logic. And he hated Ramakrishna Paramahamsa because Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was a man of God, was a man of faith, was a man of sentiment. So once Keshav Chandra went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa to argue that there is no God. So as soon as this Keshav Chandra went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa spontaneously hugged him. This man was embarrassed. He did not know what to say. Then Ramakrishna Hamsa said, what is this? You're missing human warmth and human love. The man extricated himself, Keshav Chandra, and said, I want to say there is no God. God does not exist. Ramakrishna Hamsa said, what a beautiful statement. He hugged him again. Then he said, have you found the answer to what you have said? This Keshav Chandra said, what is the answer you have given? You have just hugged me. He says, that is the answer. There are certain things which cannot be answered. And when there cannot be answered, this is the way you address such a situation. It went on for some time. And within 10 minutes, Keshav Chandra was at the feet of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He said, sir, forgive me. You're a man of God. You're a man of love. You're a man of sentiment. I have never dreamed of a man who would not live in the mind, but can live in the heart. And he changed and he said, please take me as your disciple. Just to tell you how powerful love is. This is the concept of brotherly love, which Freemasonry believes and advocates. A guru told his disciples once, how can you tell that the night has ended and day begun? So each disciple had an answer. One said, when you look at a distance and see an animal and you're able to recognize whether it is a cow or a horse, then night has ended and day begun. Somebody said, no, when you see a tree at a distance and you're able to recognize the tree, whether it's a neem tree or a mango tree, then night has ended and day begun. But the guru was not happy with any of these answers. They then said, why don't you give the answers? The guru said, when you look into the face of any man and recognize your brother in him, then night has ended and day has begun. Until then, no matter what time it is by the clock, it is always night. That is the concept of brotherly love, which Freemasonry advocates. The second part is relief. Now, relief, loosely translated, means charity. Now, let me clarify that Freemasonry is not a service organization. There are service organizations and service organizations, but Freemasonry is not a service organization. And yet, it uses relief as a method for self-transformation. It is a means of self-transformation, not as a service agency. Doing service to others may be incidental, but basically it is the concept, it is the idea of a self-transformation. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajoguna, Samudbhava. Kama means more greed. You want more and more and more and more and more. And you always think of yourself. You always think of yourself. You are submerged in yourself. Purandara Dasa in one of his kritis says, Nanu Nandu Enna Nargavalli Viddu. So we are always thinking of me, mine, and myself. Freemasonry brings this idea of charity to get out of this. To get out of this so that this Rajaguna is gone. To develop compassion. To develop empathy to a fellow human being. That is the concept of relief or charity. Yes, you may do charities, you may give donations, you may do service. That is incidental. What basically is to feel for others, to have compassion for others, to have empathy for others. A lady, a very rich lady, had a nice garden. She had a gardener, an old man, who would come do his work, and he had a peculiar habit. This gardener, after his work every evening, he would go to the village. And he would go to every house in the village and attend to the sick. He would cook for them. He would give them medicines. If there are old people, he would help them the housework. He would always, without fail, he would go to every house and give some assistance or the other, be of some use to others. After some time, this old gardener died. And soon after, this lady was a rich lady. She was also of charitable disposition. She used to give charities to our deserving charities. She would never say no to a deserving cause. She would go give charities. After some time, this gardener died. And soon after, this old lady also died. She went to heaven. And in heaven, she saw that this gardener of hers, who had died earlier, occupying a more prestigious place, a higher place than her in heaven. She was a little upset. She said, why? I have done more charities. What could this gardener have done? How could this gardener get a better place, a better higher rating than me in heaven? So she went to God and said, God, what is this? I have done so much charities. What could this gardener have done that he has a higher position that I have? God smiled and said, my dear, you had sympathy, but the gardener, he had empathy. So that is the difference. So empathy is a quality which Freemasonry is trying to impart by the concept of relief. The third part is truth. Brotherly love, relief, and now we come to truth. Gandhiji says that there is no difference between God and truth. Satyam Paramadhimahi. Truth is God. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the name of God is Sat. Truth is God himself. It is said that the distance between God and truth is the same as the distance between the material and the fabric and the cloth that we are wearing. That is the distance between truth and God. Truth and God are the same. Freemasonry tells us that truth is God. It is permanent. It is the same in the past. It is the same in the present. It is the same in the future. It is said that a court in Athens told Socrates, "You stop talking about truth and we will release you. We will not put you to death." The answer that Socrates gave was beautiful. He said, "That is my business. I will keep talking about truth. Just as I breathe, I will talk about truth. That is my business." So that is the concept of truth that Freemasonry advocates. Now, this is the first basic slogan of Freemasonry, which I have just briefly explained: brotherly love, relief, and truth. The next infrastructure or the plank that Freemasonry provides are the three pillars: wisdom, strength, and beauty. What is wisdom? Wisdom is defined as a state of being wise. Normally, we confuse knowledge for wisdom. Knowledge is something that can be acquired with experience, with books, with talking, anything. Knowledge is something that can be acquired, but we say wisdom dawns on us. It comes from within. Perhaps knowledge is just the necessary qualification, the necessary infrastructure, a landing place where, or the screen on which wisdom can dawn on us. There's a very nice story I want to share with you. It is about a man who had a beautiful garden, had a lot of fruits in the garden, and every day there used to be a hummingbird, a small hummingbird. You have seen a hummingbird; it's a very small bird, which used to come and peck at all his fruits. So one day he planned and trapped that bird. He trapped the bird and caught it and put it in a cage. The bird spoke to him. It said, "If you release me, I will give you 3 sayings which will make you a very wise man." The man was tempted. He was a good man. So he let the bird fly. He let it go. He let it free. So bird flew for a distance and said, "I will give you 3 wise sayings. First, do not regret the irrevocable. Do not regret the irrevocable. Second, do not believe the impossible. Do not believe the impossible." And the third, do not seek the unattainable. Do not seek the unattainable. Then the bird laughed and taunted him. He said, "If you had not released me, you would have found a pearl the size of a lemon in my stomach, which would have made you so rich, richest man." The man was furious that he had released the bird. So he went after the bird. The bird climbed up a tree, flew up a tree. The man started climbing the tree. As the man climbed, the bird went on the higher branch and higher branch. The man kept climbing up. The bird also kept flying up. Finally, at the last branch, the bird sat, the man went, the branch broke. The man fell down on the ground and suffered bruises. The bird came down and laughed at him and said, "I gave you 3 wise sayings and you forgot it so soon. I said, do not regret the irrevocable. Once you released me, you regretted. And you regretted it immediately. Secondly, I said, do not believe the unbelievable. Do not believe the impossible. I told you you believed that I could have a pearl the size of a lemon in my small belly. How could you believe it? And third, I said, do not seek the unattainable. And yet you try to catch a flying bird climbing a tree. You are a foolish man. Wisdom is for the wise. Just to tell you, wisdom dawns on us. Wisdom is not knowledge. It is something that dawns on us once we develop a knowledge base for it. The second pillar is strength. Now, there are three kinds of strength: physical strength, intellectual strength, and emotional strength. But Freemasonry is not talking of any of these strengths. Freemasonry is talking of a different kind of a strength that comes out of courage of conviction. A courage of conviction. When one has conviction, then there is courage. Then there is strength. It must be courage of conviction. That is what Freemasonry speaks about strength. And the Upanishads go a step ahead and says, strength is God itself. Abhayam vai Brahma, it says. Strength that is courage of conviction is God himself. It is said that when Diogenes, the Greek philosopher, was captured and taken to a slave market to be sold, he jumped up the auction platform and shouted at the people there, "Here is a master come to be sold. Is there a slave amongst you willing to purchase him?" He had that courage of conviction that he was a master and the others were slaves. The last point is beauty. Last pillar is beauty. Now, why is beauty a part of this? Does it mean that we want a family of all beautiful people, a world family, a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam of only beautiful people? No, that is not. Beauty can be of two types. One is the physical, the external beauty, which is visible. The other is the inner beauty. It is called beatitude. Khalil Gibran says, beauty is not in the face, beauty is a light in the heart. It is said that the most beautiful person is not the person who wins a beauty pageant, but a person who is filled with joy and moves through the world with this joy, irrespective of the external situations, external circumstances. A guru gave a beautiful discourse on beauty. He said, develop the beauty of your eyes by looking at only good in others. Improve your hearing by listening only to good things. Maintain your heart by loving everyone without any discrimination. Keep your nose clean by smelling only the fragrance of flowers. Exercise your arms and shoulders by hugging at least 5 people every day. Work upon your legs by reaching out to those in need. Keep your mind clean by thinking of only good things. And finally, instead of lipstick, try using words of kindness to everyone and see how beautiful your lips become. That is the kind of beauty that Freemasonry is talking about. So these are the 3 pillars: wisdom, strength, and beauty. Now let me briefly touch upon, I think I have another 10 minutes. Let me briefly touch upon the 4 cardinal virtues, 4 virtues which Freemasonry says are cardinal: temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. Today's context, every day for that matter, when we go in the world, when we are in our daily activities, we come across sorrows, pain, disappointments, sorry. And we react to such situations in a manner which we feel right at that point of time. But what is the right way to react? The right way to react is in the manner where you have temperance. You must have an attitude of temperance to react to such situations. Temperance means moderation. Moderation in thought, in action, and in feeling. Now, temperance has 2 constituents. One is equanimity and the other is contentment. Both complement each other. One cannot live with the other. If you have equanimity, you can be content. And if you are content, you will have equanimity. Equanimity is accepting everything, having a still mind. Chintopanth says Krishna in the Gita. That is the state of mind. Mind is otherwise mad. It keeps on going. So hither and thither. So you must keep the mind in a state of sthita prajna. That is equanimity. Otherwise, in fact, he gives an example. He says, Sukha Dukha Samay Kritva, Sukha Dukha Kame Samay Kritva, Labha Labho Jaya Jayo. Three states, three pairs he gives, Sukha Dukha, in joy and sorrow. Labha Labho, victory, gain or loss, victory or defeat. In these three pairs of situations, have Samay Kritva, have a stable mind. Then you will, that is being temperate, that is being having equanimity. Beautiful example I'll give you of Saint Eknath Ji. Eknath Ji was a man of equanimity. He had the reputation of never getting angry. He would never get angry at all. So there were his detractors in the town who wanted to at least once see him get angry. So you have such people also in society. So they engaged a hooligan, a vagabond, and said, we will give you a lot of money. You do something to make this man angry once. Eknath Ji had the habit of every day going to the river and bathing before he went to the temple. One day he went to the river, bathed and came out. This vagabond was standing at the steps of the river. When Eknath Ji came, he spat on him. Eknath Ji did not say anything. He turned around, went again into the river, had a dip, came up. The man again spat on him. Again, second time Eknath Ji went, had a dip, came back. The third time he spat on him. He went in, came, it is went on happening. Fourth time, fifth time, sixth time. The man would not give up spitting on Eknath Ji, and Eknath Ji would not get angry. This happened so many times, and after 107 times, the man fell at Eknath Ji. He said, sir, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I did this for the lure of money. Somebody said, I'll give you money, you do this. I'm a poor fellow, I did this. And I'm so sorry that I have done it. Please forgive me. Eknath Ji smiled and said, what is there for me to forgive you? Because of you, I had the privilege today of bathing in this holy river for 108 times. If it wasn't for you, I would not have this punya at all. I would not have been able to bathe in this river for 108 times. That was the concept. That was the equanimity with which Eknath Ji lived. The second part is contentment. Contentment, again, I said, it's very difficult. The more we have, the more we want. Everything we want more. Mullah Nasruddin was once crying in his house. And his neighbor Abdullah went and saw him crying. So he said, Mullah, why are you crying? So Mullah Nasruddin said, 3 weeks back, my old uncle was ailing, died, and he left me 5,000 gold coins. So Abdullah said, after all, he's an old man, yeah, it's okay. Anyway, given you something, 5,000 gold coins is not a small amount. You must be, forget it, it's okay, console yourself. But Mullah continued to cry. Now Abdullah said, why are you still crying? And Mullah said, no, 2 weeks back, my second uncle died, and he left me 10,000 gold coins. This man said, okay, it's all right, yeah, so you got another 10,000 coins, forget it, don't cry. But Mullah continued to cry. And this man Abdullah said, why are you still crying? He said, a week back, my third uncle died, and he's left me 15,000 gold coins. So Abdullah said, now you must be happy, you're become a rich man. Why are you still crying? Console yourself, forget it, you're a rich man now, let's celebrate. But Mullah kept on crying. So Abdullah said, why are you still crying? Mullah said, I'm crying because I don't have any more uncles left to die. Just to tell you that the more we have, the more we want. That is a lack of contentment, and we need to have contentment. That is the third thing. That is the temperance part of it. Now, what is fortitude? Fortitude is physical and moral courage. Fortitude is actually, I will define fortitude as physical plus moral courage plus faith minus ego. This is fortitude. To face situations with a faith in him. Whatever the faith. There was a very nice example of a man, a businessman, who had a very flourishing business, who went on a holiday. And when he came back, he saw his shop, his house, his gods, all burnt to ashes. He what did he do? How did he react? He did not cry. He did not blame God. He did not get into a depression. He put up a board there. Shop burnt, house burnt, goods burnt, but faith not burnt. We'll be back in business tomorrow. That is fortitude. That is the concept of faith, physical and moral courage plus faith minus the ego. That is very important. The third cardinal virtue is prudence. What is prudence? Prudence is the right reason, the right intelligence put into practice. At a given time, we must react with a proper reasoning, proper intelligence. Otherwise, the outcome will be adverse to us. A burglar went into a shoe shop and he stole the cash box. But he was caught because he sat down there after stealing the cash box. He sat down there to try on some shoes for himself. That is a lack of prudence. Prudence is intelligence to be circumspect, to think of the right reaction is prudence. The last point is justice. Of course, all of you know what justice is, but justice does not mean that it is to be restricted to courts and judges. Justice is for all of us in everyday life. Justice, simply put, means to be fair, to deal fairly in every situation, to be fair to others, to be fair to ourselves, in fact. That is what justice, the concept of justice is Freemasonry. I do not have much time, but I will refer to you to a story by Munshi Premchand. The original is in Hindi, but there is an English translation. The title of the story is Panch Parmeshwar. It's a beautiful story, very touching story on the concept of justice. In fact, the essence of the story is justice as God itself. Parameshwar, justice is Parameshwar. If anyone you have access, it is available. English translation is available. Please read that. It brings out the essence of justice in a beautiful manner. I can also say that justice is also, in a way, the law of karma. The law of karma, as you sow, so you reap. That is the law of karma with justice is. Now, I am running short of time. I'll run through the rest of what I have to say. I have discussed the infrastructure, the means with which Freemasonry trains its members, trains those who want to be part of this Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, to be this brotherhood of noble people. Now, how does this, the means I have given you, the infrastructure I have given, how is it imbibed? How is it communicated? Is there a list of do's and don'ts? Is there are there lectures? Are there classes? No. Freemasonry does this by a technique of rituals. Freemasonry has dramatized the whole thing in the form of rituals. There is no teacher and a taught. Everybody is a participant in this ritual, and every time the ritual, it's a dramatized ritual, and every time the ritual is gone through, the impact is so much more on all who are participating in the ritual. Like I said, there is no teacher and the taught, there is no lecturer and a student, or a lecturer and a listener. Everybody is a participant in this ritual. Now, there would be a question of how did Freemasonry come? Or what is the origin of Freemasonry? Die-hard Freemason would like to believe that Freemasonry originated with King Solomon. And these rituals that we practiced are incidents based on the construction of King Solomon's temple. But any attempt to trace the origin of Freemasonry would be only conjectures, would be only guesswork. Perhaps the best way to put it across is to say that Freemasonry started perhaps during the Middle Ages in Europe, when there was a lot of construction activity. A lot of palaces, buildings, chapels, castles were being built, and there were a lot of masons, operative masons, who were actually involved in building in this construction work. Now, these people were working during the day, the men, and after the work in the evenings, they had free time. They would gossip. They had no television or cinema those days, so they would engage themselves in gossip or using that time for anything else. The wise among them saw this as an opportunity, saw them as a captive audience, as a captive class to impart finer things of life, impart morality, spirituality. So they started using this opportunity to guide these people, these operative Masons, into a moral, into a better life, into a noble life. Now, they had no educational aids those days. They did not have computers or whatever it is available, books for that matter. So they used their own instruments. Their own instruments which they use for construction were used as symbols for them to be used as guides to impart these morals and values. For example, they had the 24-inch gauge for measurement. They said that 24-inch gauge represents the concept of 24 hours of the day, part to be spent in prayer to Almighty God, part in labor and refreshment, and part in helping a friend or a person in need. There was a square. They said the square represents morality. Then they had a chisel. They said the chisel represents force of conscience. And all these instruments were symbolized, were used as symbols to teach. And let me tell you that even today, Freemasons use these instruments, these very tools, to impart the same lessons that operative Masons used in those days. Now, these people had, what happened was the construction activity started getting reduced. These people started reduced, but the interest grew among those who were not operative Masons. The people who were not operative Masons, outside world, they saw this as a very good inspirational thing. So they started joining. And eventually they became more than the operative Masons. So these Masons became Freemasons because it was now freely available to not just operative Masons, but to everybody else. Now, after the construction activities declined, after these constructions were over, they had no place to gather. So they would gather in boarding houses or lodges, and hence the expression lodge came to be being to identify the place or identify the group which would meet as Freemasons. Can I take another 5 minutes? Now, somewhere down the line, Freemasonry got the label of being a secret society, society of secrecy, secrets. Let me assure you, particularly the non-Freemasons who are part of this program, that Freemasonry is certainly not a secret organization. A secret organization is where the members are secret, are not known, the place of meeting is not known, what they do is not known. But here, Freemasons are proud to call themselves Freemasons. The Freemasons directory is available to identify Freemasons. And if you go to any town and look up the telephone directory for a Freemasons hall or a Freemasons lodge, the address and telephone numbers are all listed. So Freemasonry is not a secret organization. But there are certain secrets that Freemasons have. I told you about the rituals. Now the rituals are not shared with everybody. They are kept a secret because Freemasonry deals with the mystic. And for mysticism to be effective, there must be a sense of curiosity. And a sense of curiosity can be aroused only when there is secrecy about it. That is all about secrecy in Freemasonry, to see that this mysticism, this idea of curiosity is brought out. That it is not a secret society. Now, how are people made Freemasons? Like I said, since it's a mystical society, it is not just straightforward admission. It is an initiation. It is an initiation into our order. Freemasonry is a fraternity. It is an order. So you need to be initiated into this order by way of ritual, which is exclusively developed for Freemasonry. Now, how is the structure of Freemasonry? I told you the individual groups of Freemasons are called lodges. Now, Freemasonry came to India with the British. In fact, let me explain you this way. The first recorded minutes of Freemasonry is of a meeting in London in the year 1717. This is the first recorded minutes, not that it is the first minutes. After that, within 11 years, in 1728, when the concept of Freemasonry came to India with the British through Fort St. William in Calcutta, and the first lodge was established in Calcutta in the year 1728. And thereafter, Freemasonry came with the Dutch, the Irish, and the Scottish, and each one of them had their own groups of Freemasons practicing under their tutelar heads. After 1947, when after our independence, when there was a spirit of nationalism going on, it was felt that India should have a sovereign Masonic body of its own. And the Grand Lodge of India was formed in the year 1961 to administer and to gather all Freemasons under its head. Now, the Grand Lodge of India is the head body, chief body administering Freemasonry in India. It has one chief called the Grand Master, which is an elected office for 3 years. Now, for administrative purposes, the Grand Lodge of India is divided into 4 parts, 4 regions: North, South, East, and West. Each region has a regional Grand Master to administer the respective regions. This regional Grand Master is appointed by the Grand Master. Now, under each region are these individual lodges, which are the basic structure, basic point of meeting of Freemasons. It is like equivalent to a club. You can call a Rotary Club or a Lions Club. We call it lodges. That is all there is difference. Now, each lodge is governed by a leader who is called a worshipful master. This worshipful master is also an elected person. He is elected for 1 year. Now, this is the structure of Freemasonry. I think I have taken you enough into this voyage of discovering Freemasonry. I will just conclude with one small story, which is a very popular story among Freemasons and brings out the ethos of Freemasonry. It is about a young man who was walking on the road, and he saw a money lender shop, a pawnbroker shop. And in the show window, he saw a Masonic symbol. He went in and he said, "You know, I am a Freemason and I am in need of £5 urgently. I see that you are also a Freemason. So can you give me £5 on the basis of the fact that both of us are Freemasons? I will return it to you within a week." The moneylender looked at this young man. He seemed to be respectable. And he said, "Let me try." So he said he gave this man £5 on the assumption, on the strength that he was a Freemason and that he would return it within a week. And sure enough, within a week, this young man came and returned the £5 to the moneylender and went away. After some time, at one of the lodge meetings in that town, this young man was being initiated into Freemasonry, which means that when he came to the moneylender shop, he was not a Freemason. After his initiation, after the procedures, after the meeting, he was looking around, and to his shock, he saw the moneylender sitting there. So after the meeting, when everybody dispersed, he tried to run away from the embarrassment of meeting this moneylender. But the moneylender pursued him. He came after him and caught him. He said, "Good evening. How are you?" The young man was totally embarrassed. He said, "Sir, please forgive me. I have to apologize because when I came to your shop and asked for that £5 loan, I was not a Freemason. But I had heard that Freemasons help each other. Freemasons help others. So I wanted to put this principle to test. So I asked you, I saw that symbol in your shop. So I knew you were a Freemason. So I asked you, I wanted to test you. I said, will you give me a £5 loan on the strength that I am a Freemason?" And you readily agreed. So I was convinced that yes, Freemasons are of a helpful nature, are those who help each other. So I immediately said, I must also become a Freemason. And I got initiated today. I became a member of this lodge. And please excuse me. I'm very sorry for having lied to you. The moneylender said, don't apologize, because I also have an apology to make. Because when you came to my shop, I myself was not a Freemason. But I had also heard that Freemasons were men of morals, of virtues, of spiritual background. So I thought, let me put this principle to test. So I gave you the £5 on the strength that you are a Freemason. And when you returned the £5 within a week, as you had promised, I realized that yes, what I had heard of Freemasonry was true. And I also decided to become a Freemason. I was initiated, I became a Freemason only at the last meeting. My friends, this is what Freemasonry is about. I hope you have discovered at least a part of Freemasonry. I'm extremely thankful to you to have joined me in this voyage of discovering Freemasonry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, most worshipful Brother Arun Chintopanth. Now I'll request worshipful Brother Raghavendra Prasad to moderate the session with the question and answer.
Thank you, worshipful Master. Thank you, most worshipful Brother Arun. We have actually a lot of questions, so I'll try to quickly go through them. The first question is, what distinguishes Freemasonry from other groups like Rotary Club or Lions Club in terms of objectives and purpose?
See, basically, the very objective of these institutions are different. Like I said, Freemasonry is based on individuals, on transformation of individuals, on building individuals. Whereas Lions or Rotary, which you have mentioned, are service organizations. They serve society. They serve society. But Freemasons try to mend society. That is the basic difference between them. The objectives themselves are different. You cannot, it's like comparing apples and oranges. I hope I have answered that.
Yes, thank you. The next question is, when did Freemasonry open up to non-Christians?
Yeah, I have some data. See, according to the data I have, the first non-Christian to be initiated into Freemasonry, at least in India, I can talk only about India. I don't know about outside India, but I don't suppose there were non-Christians outside India. Was the last reigning Nawab of Karnataka. His name was Omad ul Omra. The year is uncertain in which he was initiated. But the second person who was initiated was in 1812. He was also Mohammedan, Mir Bande Ali Khan. That this was on 23rd March 1813 in Lodge Marina at Calcutta. So that is the earliest recorded date when non-Christians were initiated.
Then we have a lot of questions actually about, or multiple questions. I'll try to summarize all of them. They're about who is a fit person to become a Freemason.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Sorry? Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, I have told you what Freemasonry is about. So you must gauge for yourself whether a person whom I know is fit to be a Freemason. Who definitely, like I said, everybody has an essence of goodness in him. But will he be able to imbibe the teachings of Freemasonry to become a better man? Does he have the seriousness in him to imbibe these qualities? Like I said, it is individual transformation. If a person is looking to serve society, only to serve society, then maybe he has better options. But if one is looking to develop himself so that he can, like I said, mend society, make society better, then Freemasonry is the right thing. So it is for a person for one to be circumspect, to make a lot of inquiries, to think deeply before deciding whether another person is fit to be a Freemason. There cannot be a general parameter as such. But what I forgot to mention in my talk was that any male of 21 years can be a Freemason.
Okay. And there's also a question as to how to motivate a person to become a Freemason. Is it, should Freemasons go around motivating people? Is that to become a Freemason? Is that something that we are asked to do or allowed to do?
Basically, I don't think we should motivate people. You see, we should be an example to people in the outside world who would say, where did this man become such a good man? I must also become like this. So he will come and ask, where did you learn to be such a man? How did you learn all these things? That is our behavior, Freemason's behavior should motivate somebody, not by canvassing. What I'm trying to say is you don't canvas and say, why don't you become a Freemason? We must show by examples. And that is when we motivate others to become Freemasons. When I saw my father, exemplary character, I said, I must also become somebody like him. So I said, I was motivated to become a Freemason. It's something like that.
Okay. Thank you. We have another question, which is, who is a Mason, and in the present situation, what is our responsibility towards society?
Our responsibility to society is always not depending on a situation outside. Irrespective of situation outside, our responsibility to society remains. We have to mend society. That is our job. Mend ourselves and mend society, irrespective of present situation, past situation, future situation. Situations keep changing, but our objective will not change.
Thank you. We have a few questions on charity and Freemasonry. What is the importance of charity in Freemasonry? And do you believe charity delayed is charity denied?
I think I brought out the concept of charity in my talk. That charity, the concept of Freemasonry is not just serving others. It has much wider amplitude. It is more of charity of thought, charity of word, and then charity of deed. You must be first charitable in your attitude to others, in your thinking of others. Once you develop that compassion, that empathy, then automatically the service aspect comes into it. You cannot deny yourself that aspect of service, being service oriented. Once the concept of compassion and empathy comes into you, you don't even have to wait for people to ask. Once you have compassion and empathy, the service angle is spontaneous. It comes within you. There is no, again, motivation required for this. There need not be any letter of solicitation for charities. A Freemason must spontaneously give, because he is built inwards or in a state to be in a state of compassion and empathy.
Okay. Then we have a few questions from Freemasons who are for both. There are actually more than 150 viewers on YouTube who are asking some questions live. And one question is, how do you create a charity culture in the lodge as an institution? How do we evaluate charity integration across the lodge as an institution?
I think I have basically answered this question. You want me to say something more? I think we can do something.
No, I think you have answered that. Then there are some questions about the future of Freemasonry in India and how to make it more relevant. So what is your thoughts on Freemasonry in India and how to make it more relevant?
I think we are quite incompetent to make it relevant as such, because we are too small. Freemasonry has existed from centuries. From centuries, we also believe from King Solomon's time. It has gone through so many of vicissitudes, so many different cultures, so many different ages. It has survived. I don't see any reason why it cannot survive the present age. There is no question of making it relevant. It is relevant at every age. Maybe some changes here and there, cosmetic changes need to make, like coming on the computer like this. But the basic essence of Freemasonry, the basic concept of Freemasonry will remain the same forever. So long as man exists, Freemasonry will exist.
We have one more question on the importance of the perfection in rituals. How important is it in Freemasonry, and what should be the priority ascribed to it within our institution in the future?
Well, like I mentioned, the ritual is the technique by which these things are imparted. If you don't have the ritual, you don't impart any of these things. So perfection of ritual is definitely essential. It is a technique. It is a technique with which we impart these things. If you go to a school and say, why is the teacher writing on the blackboard? Why don't we do away with it? It is a technique with which the teacher teaches his taught. That is, ritual is a technique by which we teach our people these points with the mask, which I mentioned. So you need a technique, and you need to be good in that technique. You cannot be haphazard. You see, you cannot be haphazard in your technique. Your technique, if you go to a radio mechanic, a TV, a computer mechanic, he has his own technique, and he must be perfect in that technique. You cannot say, why are you using this? Why are you going to do that? No, that is not it. He must be perfect. Otherwise, you will not go to him. So technique is very important, and that's why ritual is our technique, and it is 100% important. Perfection.
There, we have one, maybe one last question. There are many apprehensions and conspiracy theories on Freemasonry, which is something sometimes makes Freemasonry also very curious to non-Freemasons. How should we address those conspiracy theories? What should we tell non-Freemasons about these?
To ignore them. Just to ignore them. See, anything good will have will have adversaries. We'll have people who create issues, who like to say something different. It happens to every good cause, every good cause it happens. Just ignore it. Just ignore it. That is what I would like to do to the Freemasons. Just ignore it. Don't give it any importance. You stick to your principles. That's it.
Yeah, those are all the questions. There are many others, but I think for want of time, we should close the question answers. Thanks a lot for taking all the questions very patiently.
Welcome. Thank you.
Worshipful Master, over to you.
Thank you, Worshipful Brother Raghavendra. It was a treat to listen to you, and each time we listen, it mesmerizes us with the knowledge you have. And it was an impeccable session. I thank you for that, most worshipful brother.
Welcome, Worshipful Master.
Dear participants, I hope we have put across all your questions, and I hope we have clarified what was Discover Freemasonry to you. We probably could not take all the questions because of the time involved in it. We probably would be able to answer it if it permits us to do so in the future. And before we sign off, I would just tell that the ARGMs of the Bangalore area have been providing the relief work to the in the Bangalore area, those who have been stuck due to this COVID pandemic, and Lodge Professionals is also part of such a relief work. And those who would wish to contribute can also contribute to this, generously to such charity. With this, I conclude this session. I thank you for joining, and wish you a very happy weekend, and do stay safe.